Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum and welcome to Sports Extra. I'm your host Ahmed Nawaz with the latest roundup of sports today. Before we begin, I want to take this moment on behalf of my team of Sports Extra and PTV World in general to wish all of you, your family and your friends a very happy new year, with the prayers that this new year brings you all the joy that you have ever wished for, with good health as well. It's the start of a new year, of course, the first show on the first, and of course, we've got loads to talk about regarding cricket. First of all, let's take a look at what we're discussing and then we introduce the guest and continue forward. Pakistan cricket, of course, a packed calendar when you talked about 2025. There's a lot of cricket that Pakistan is going to be playing, so we will be discussing about most of that as well. And then, of course, we start off with Pakistan's tour to South Africa. We're now looking forward to the second test match where Pakistan can maybe pull a victory back and level the series. It's going to be very difficult, although in the first test match it was asked to lose, and that's what we managed to do. If you've got 2 wickets to take and about 30 to 40 runs in the bag, then you might come up with some innovative stuff as a skipper. Why not put 5 to 6 players around the batter and just opt for a spinner and let him play that loose end? But we didn't see that tactical approach, did we? But South Africa got the better of us, courtesy that they've qualified for the World Test Championship final. That being said, Pakistan, it's going to be a very difficult campaign now coming back in the second test match, but you then would like to back Pakistan after they played in the first, courtesy Mohammad Abbas, who was brilliant on the day when it mattered the most as well. The batters have still got to step up to the occasion, so only time will tell in a couple of days what kind of strategy Pakistan go with. Then we talk about Shan as the skipper. The numbers now are somewhat of a nightmare. They're saying something that probably we don't believe in, but a change does look imminent now and does look very pertinent and might be even before the West Indies series as well. But you never know how this second test match unfolds. But so far, if you look at the record, it speaks for itself. 9 test matches, only 2 victories, that too against England, where a lot of credit was given to the pitch, and losing 6 and just 1 draw in that as well. It's the worst performance so far by any skipper who's captained Pakistan's test side as well. But I think it's not just the captaincy, it's the own performance that needs to be talked about as well. So we'll talk about all of this in detail. Time now to introduce the guest. First of all, joining us in studios is sports journalist and our expert Abdul Jabbar Faisal. Assalamu alaikum, sir. How are you? A very happy new year to you.
Thank you very much. I am nice, and good wishes for the viewers too.
Thank you very much. We've also been joined by expert, and he's going to be critically analyzing all our topics today as well. Daniel joins us as well. Daniel Khalik, assalamu alaikum. A very happy new year to you and your family. How are you?
Walaikum salam. All well, thank you, and happy new year to all.
Thank you very much. And of course, like I said, we're going to be continuing all of this as well. Now the records of course speak for themselves as well, but I think it's going to be a very lengthy debate when you talk about the performances as well. And it really matters that how you unfold the scenario, considering that your next test championship now seems to be something that you need to focus from now onwards. Otherwise, it's going to be very difficult. But we're going to be talking about this in detail as well. Also joining us on Sports Extra is a sports writer Hassan, who joins us as well. Assalamu alaikum, Hassan. Welcome to the program. A very happy new year to you as well.
Walaikum assalam, Ahmed. It's a pleasure to be here. A very happy new year to you and to all of our viewers as well.
Thank you very much for joining us as well. Now let's take a look at this report about Pakistan's second test match against South Africa.
The second test between Pakistan and South Africa is set to begin on Friday in Cape Town, with both teams determined to continue their battle in this crucial series. Pakistan's national cricket team has already arrived in Cape Town from Johannesburg and is gearing up for the upcoming challenge. A practice session is scheduled for this morning, giving the players an opportunity to prepare for the high-stakes match ahead. South Africa enters this test with the advantage, having secured a victory in the first match, which ended in a dramatic finish, saw South Africa defeat Pakistan by just 2 wickets. The thrilling victory not only gave South Africa the upper hand in the series, but also secured their qualification for the World Test Championship final, a major achievement for the Proteas. With the series on the line, Pakistan will be looking to bounce back and level the series, while South Africa aims to extend its lead and take a commanding position. The match promises to be an exciting contest as both teams look to make their mark.
There you have it, all you need to know about the second test match and these details in the report by Sabah. Of course, like I said, it's a big challenge now. Jabbar Faisal, how do you see Pakistan? You have to make a comeback, but obviously South Africa won't let you off that easy.
I think after the first test match, it's same type of situation and pitch they might be facing the second test match. But the first test match, what we did, this is all things has been exposed, where we did mistakes. All things are clear. Now there should be a team management to decide how to tackle the host team in the vital test match. I can tell you in the first test match, in the first innings, Kamran Ghulam, in the second innings, Babar Azam and Amar Jamal played unnecessary strokes. Actually, they have set their mind to play aggressive, but it means not to hit on each ball and you throw each ball outside the boundary. You should stay on the wicket, you should wait for the ball which may be hit easily. But in the second test match, we will have to make some changes, especially we should make a strong batting order. Our batting is very big issue at the moment, especially top order batters. Secondly, the performance of the captain is very critical right now. He is not performing up to mark. Either at one stage he is not performing with the bat, and other thing he is not dealing with the bowlers, and he has failed to utilize the bowlers properly. In the first test match, our bowlers did very well. No doubt, Mohammad Abbas played tremendous role to back in the match to whole team. But we did some mistake, we waste our match, but in the second match we should not repeat the
Similar
mistakes which have been done in the first.
Absolutely. I think regardless of the performances, which were not very critical about Daniel, it's been about the tactical approach that you talk about. And this won't be the first time that Pakistan has failed to wrap up a tail or has let them loose. This has happened before as well. But once again, we saw a very lackluster sort of approach going into this test match. How do you see the challenge up ahead now when you talk about the second one?
Well, I think the thing that's also very clear is that we can talk about the batting as much as we like. The reality is that in both innings in the test match, we failed to take the last 2 wickets. You get to 8 down and then you're not able to take the last 2 wickets. That's a serious failing. There was no attempt at bowling Yorkers. There was no attempt at playing around with field placings. And I think that's a failure of captaincy. It's a failure of the groupthink in the team structure as well. I don't think the problem is batting as much as it is with the captaincy. The bowlers are there. Mohammad Abbas takes 6 wickets in the first innings. Khurram Shahzad and Naseem also take 3 each. So they're able to get you inroads. But if you're not able to then follow it up and make sure that you close out the innings. In the first innings, South Africa added about 110 runs for the last two wickets. And in the second innings, they won the entire match with those last 2 wickets. So ultimately, I think it just comes back to the captaincy. And you can keep talking about bolstering the batting and having 7 batsmen, 8 batsmen. That's great, but you need to take the wickets at the end of the day. And in terms of the structure going forward for the second test, I think it's very important to focus on having, if your objective is to have only 4 bowlers, then you need to make sure that all 4 of them are in form, which probably results in dropping either Amir Jamal or Naseem Shah and bringing in Mir Hamza to give you a little bit more control and consistency. Hopefully he'll be able to perform. But you also need the captain to lead from the front, and that's not happening right now.
Well, certainly, and I think it's very critical now, as both our guests mentioned as well. But Hassan, how would you see the challenge up ahead now? Because obviously South Africa is going to let you off easy, because I understand they've already qualified for the World Test Championship, but the way they're going about their business right now, and it is mentioned again and again that the reason South Africa has been so successful, that because majority of that contribution has been from that tail that we talk about a lot.
Ahmed, I think it's very fitting that Pakistan ended its 2024 in terms of cricket the way that we did. Because for me, 2024 has been the year of throwing away certain victories for Pakistan. In the white ball format, we saw it against USA and India at the World Cup. In the red ball format under Shan Masood'S captaincy, we saw it in the 2 tests against Bangladesh. 2 easy, guaranteed winning positions thrown away. In Centurion, we saw the same thing. Shan Masood spoke in the press conference later, and I quote, "We had them by the scruff of the neck." And this is the question we all have, that if Pakistan repeatedly can find itself into a winning position from where it can't convert, then what's the point of getting into that winning position at all? The silver lining for them is that Cape Town is a track where South Africa have not had the greatest success. They've only played 1 test match there in the past 2 years, which they lost to India. In fact, it was the record-breaking tests. where 23 wickets fell in a single day as India won the game in only 2 days. So that's a positive sign for me, because looking at the way Abbas bowled in the final innings, the way Khurram Shahzad bowled in the first innings in particular, getting the ball to nip around at Centurion, I think that's something Pakistan can take advantage of. You mentioned that South Africa have qualified, but I don't think they'll let them affect that. I don't think that's going to affect their intensity, because South Africa have not qualified, Ahmed, on the basis of one player. Do you know that South Africa doesn't have a single batsman in the top 35 of the ICC rankings? Do you know they don't have a single bowler in the top 12 wicket takers of the World Test Championship? And yet still, they're the first team to qualify. And that's because they've been gelling together as a team unit. They've been getting contributions from the tail, from the top order, from the middle order, the spinners, the pacers, everybody has been contributing. And that's what is in store for Pakistan. So it's going to be a tough challenge, but the Cape Town wicket is something that could play to Pakistan's advantage.
Well, certainly, but Hassan, how would you analyze now Pakistan's tactical approach? Because we're, of course, in a moment going to be talking about the captaincy in a while as well. But before that, when we talk about Pakistan's ability in Test cricket, I understand that we've got a very less share of Test cricket. But, you know, Mohammad Abbas coming back has surely made a difference. The question still remains, you know, how we've been able to keep him out for 3 years. But then again, at the same time, you need that attack to contribute more. And we always talk about the fact that it's the bowlers who have been saving you for quite some time now in Pakistan cricket.
Abbas is an absolute gem, Ahmed. You know, he's been out for 3 years. He's now 34 years of age, and he's still a metronome. Every single ball, perfect line, perfect length, and that's how he induces the batter to make a mistake. 6 for 54 is the best performance of his entire career. And that to me says that this is not a man who's done with cricket. You may say he's 34, but he has shown that age is just a number, and he's still got the performance to back it up. On the tactical side, I must confess that I was a little bit surprised we didn't have a spinner. Of course, we didn't pick Sajid Khan for the series, citing the fact that South Africa doesn't have spinning wickets. We didn't pick Numan Ali either. Okay, that is still justifiable. But I still think that Shan Masood needs to utilize Salman Ali Agha, even Saim Ayub occasionally, and he needs to have more fielders around the bat, as you said at the start. When you let tail-enders get away twice, I know everyone's going to talk about the fourth innings. You had them 99 for 8. But for me, what was even more worrying was that at Centurion in the first innings, South Africa were 213 for 8. There, if Pakistan capitalized on that opportunity, if they got them out for 220, they would have set them a target of 250, 260, and they would have won the game pretty easily. So that is for me the bigger concern. Yes, you let them get away twice in the second innings and in the first innings. And from a tactical approach, you're not having fielders around the bat. You're not recycling your bowlers. You're not utilizing bouncers to throw off the tail-enders. You know, there's a right-left combination between Marco Jansen and between Kagiso Rabada. Still, you're not bringing in the off-spinner to get rid of the left-hander. So it was a complete tactical disaster class. And as you mentioned earlier as well, this has been going on for quite some time. And there is no end in sight. If the captain is repeatedly making these basic mistakes, how is Pakistan going to improve?
The other problem, Jabbar Faisal, that we have identified over the past 2-3 years is that our batters, for their milestones as well, for the contributions towards the team, those 30, 40s and 50s, which are very difficult, they tend to go there. But after that, the conversion rate is horrible for Pakistani batters. You know, in the past, we've seen our batters, you know, crossing 100 mark, getting 250s and 200s, and that's how modern cricket right now is proceeding. I think in Test cricket, 150 is the new milestone. 100, you know, is somewhat still a milestone, but, you know, you've got to go beyond that. But psychologically or tactically, we're not failing to understand that after getting 30, 40, 50, 60 runs, we need to, you know, work on that conversion for the team as well.
I think whenever Pakistan team visits abroad, England, Australia and South Africa, and our batter face same like problem, but in the beginning. But after playing T20 series, ODI, you are no mix up in their atmosphere. And here in the moment, every player, just like Babar Azam, scored 50, he played an unnecessary stroke. And they are not feeling responsibility. Even Shan Masood is another issue, is not performing well. As a captain, he should play a central role, but he can't. But any batsman from you can say Babar Azam, Kamran Ghulam, Mohammad Rizwan, should take some responsibility on their shoulders. This is very important, but the problem will be there too. But in a days, the player scored 50, 60, 80, he thinks he did a lot, and he will maintain the place in the next match too. I think they should realize their responsibility, and the bench management should look their performance and other activities outdoor too, and they should come in a discipline. And without discipline, you can't perform well in the field. First of all, you have to select well selected and routable player. For example, in the pace, Khurram Shahzad did well, Mohammad Abbas did excellent, but there was need a you can say a variation of bowling. Just like in South Africa team, Marco Jason was left-handed, he did well. We should include a left-handed bowler the next test match, and our pace battery should be a strong one. And secondly, our batter should realize their responsibility to save the blemishes of Pakistan.
Absolutely, and I think that's a very pertinent comment over here. Their record against left-arm fast bowlers is not that pertinent. So you could have, tried that Mir Hamza trick, and that could have worked for you, because we went completely one-dimensional with the fact that I like the fact and I adore that Khurram Shahzad and Mohammad Abbas pairing with each other were a brilliant one. But then you bring in Amir Jamal. I understand that all-rounder element really contributes, but maybe, just maybe, you could have, rested Naseem Shah and brought in Mir Hamza. That could have made a very practical difference as well. But then again, Danial, your comments, because our batters with their conversion rates have not been too savvy about themselves in the past 2-3 years.
Well, it's made worse by the fact that South Africa is by no means going easy on Pakistan. We are facing a second-string South Africa bowling attack. You've got injuries to Nokia, you've got injuries to Ngidi, to Mulder and Kotze, and also to Keshav Maharaj. So we're facing a second-string bowling attack in theory, with the exception of Johnson and Rabada. Now, the fact of the matter is, it's very clear that the entire team is distracted by off-field activities. I think it's clear that they're not motivated in the way that they should be. And they're in two minds. You can see they're in two minds, because they want to play this baseball type of aggressive test match cricket, but the reality is you need to score runs in order to win a test match. You need to take wickets in order to take a test match. It doesn't matter how you do it, whether you do it at a strike rate of 50 or whether you do it at a strike rate of 75 doesn't really make a difference. One thing that I wanted to point out is just a random set of numbers, but 6 numbers. It's 28, 50, 41, 56, 41 and 43. Those are the averages of your top 6 excluding Saima Ayub right now. And there's only one outlier in that. And again, it comes back to, if the captain is in the team for 28 average, everyone else is wondering, what do we have to do to become undroppable? Because even if we're scoring runs, we are droppable. And so how do you motivate a team where it's not felt that it's meritocracy that is getting them to their place in the side?
Certainly. Hassan, how would you go about this argument? Because obviously the batting has got to step up. It's the main component right now. But even for batters themselves as well, even in the past when we've had some notable performances, the conversion rates have not been good. Nobody stepped up the fact that, in the past we've seen players like Azhar Ali, Misbah-ul Haq, Yunus Khan stepping up and realizing that they've got to go beyond 100 to contribute to the... And that's one of the reasons why Pakistan used to go beyond 300, 350s in Test cricket.
I love what Jabbar Saab just said about Babar Azam, the way he played the unnecessary stroke when he reached the 50, and the fact that he's not been converting his 30s and 40s. Let me tell you that Babar Azam has scored a half century after 19 innings. That means he scored a 50 after 765 days. That is a crazy amount for someone who is considered Pakistan or one of Pakistan's best middle order players. A half century after 765 days. You look at Saima Ayub, who's been doing pretty well in white ball recently, but he only has 1 half century in his last 4 test matches. You look at someone like a Shan Masood, who everyone has been blaming. He's averaging 29.5 at the age of 35 after his entire career. So evidently that's not going well enough either. Regarding the left arm option you mentioned of bringing in Mir Hamza, I don't know about that, because the question becomes, who are you going to drop? And all the 4 bowlers, they do have their credentials, whether it's Naseem, Khurram, whether you talk about Abbas, whether you look at Amir Jamal. So I'm not sure where the left arm option is going to come in. But just like Daniel presented a set of numbers, Ahmed, I'm going to present a set of numbers as well. That is 36, 47, 85, 113. This is the number of balls faced in the second innings by Saim Ayub, by Shan Masood, by Babar Azam, and by Saud Shakil. You notice that all of them faced a substantial number of balls. All of them got set. All of them got a start. And yet, not one of them converted that start to get to a century. Ahmed, you talk about getting to 150. None of our players got to even 100. None of our players even crossed 60 apart from Saud Shakil. So the issue has been when converting these scores. You get a start, you can't convert it. As for the other players, they couldn't even get a start, which is why Pakistan were able to only set the small target of 148. And I don't want to blame the bowlers that much. If someone says you're going to blame the bowlers, they weren't able to get out the last wicket, well, the bowlers at least reduced South Africa to 99 for 8. The batters, on the other hand, they're the ones who gave South Africa the opening into the game by setting such a small target for them to chase. So this is something that Pakistan needs to be aware, because the question then becomes, who is the other option? The only other option you have is Abdullah Shafiq, who has been averaging 15 in his last 12 test innings. So I do agree, as Daniel said, that the way Shan Masood is backing, it's going to confuse the other players, because if this is the captain, he's averaging so low, he's got a permanent place in the side, then where do the other players stand? And in terms of captaincy, he's not been doing well. In terms of his batting performance, he's not been doing well. And the entire Pakistani batting order as a whole does need a reshuffle.
Well, because we're in the numbers game now, so it looks very pertinent that I mention a few of them as well, and they're very simple. It's 7, 2, 9 and 1. And why are these numbers so important? Take a look at this report and then we continue.
Shan Masood's captaincy of Pakistan's Test team in the 2023-24 season was a challenging period marked by a series of disappointing results. Leading the team in 9 matches, Masood secured only 2 victories while enduring 6 losses and 1 draw. His leadership came under intense scrutiny after Pakistan became the first major cricketing nation to lose a Test series to Bangladesh, suffering a tonal defeat. This was followed by a 3-0 whitewash at the hands of Australia in an away series, further compounding the pressure on Masood. Although he managed his first win as captain in the second test against England in Multan, the team's overall performance remained inconsistent, with the key departments, batting, bowling and fielding, failing to deliver when it mattered. Masood's inability to inspire the team or implement effective strategies led to growing frustration among fans and analysts, who questions his leadership abilities. As a result, the Pakistan Cricket Board faced increasing pressure to reconsider Masood's role as the team struggled to achieve the desired level of success.
It's a flat one this time, clears the fence.
There you have it. Like I said, the captaincy seems to be in a lot of scrutiny at the moment, and it's just not the numbers, let me be very honest. It's the tactical approach that we've been searching for. We've been searching for a captain that, comes out with an out-of-the-box solution, and completely different series. But I must talk about the fact that if you look at the Border Gavaskar Trophy, it was a tactical genius how Rohit Sharma was able to get the wicket of Usman Khwaja, because he loves that glance on the leg side, and he had a leg gully in place, sort of a leg gully in place, and that's where he got them out. So I think that tactical genius, Daniel, is something that we've been searching for, and it was, like I said, it's not rocket science if you put about 5-6 fielders against a Rabada who's already going about his business, and bring in a spinner who's been very successful for you in the one-day series in the likes of Salman Ali Agha, who can utilize that drift to get you a wicket.
I agree, and rocket science it is absolutely not. And as Hassan said, the lead that we ceded in the first innings, that's really what cost us the match. Now, one of the things which is definitely not rocket science is you have a bowler bowling 130 kilometers an hour, and you have the slips and the wicket keepers sitting back in their seats. Why is it that it is only Pakistan that you see these edges dropping by 2 feet in front of them? We're the only team in the world where instead of a ball going over the keeper's head if it's too quick, we have them dropping catches because they're too far back. It's a very simple thing. Move everyone in. Bring them in, and this has been a problem, I think, going back for at least as long as I've been watching Pakistan cricket, which is our fielders sit on the edge of the circle. The keeper sits back. The slips are at least 2 or 3 feet too far back every time. And there's one edge that went off in the second innings. There would have been 9 down. And that would have been it. Surely that would have been it.
I mean, I was praying for a leg slip. Even till the very end, I was actually looking to have two catching points as well, because the majority of the runs Jansen was getting was on that point region.
Yeah, and the thing is, as captain, okay, let's say that you've set your field and you've told the bowler to bowl in a certain way, and the bowler is not bowling in that way. You have a couple of things you can do. One is obviously you go talk to your bowler, try and get him to stick to your plan. If he's not sticking to your plan, adapt your plan to the way that he's bowling. If he's going to bowl consistently outside off stump and your leg side field is what you're counting on, then it's not going to work out. You need to adapt to that and make sure that you try and block off the strengths of the batsman as best you possibly can. You're trying to get an edge, and yet all the runs are going through the covers, which means you don't have a sweeper out there. It's frankly very unimaginative, and it's kind of shocking that we've seen this sort of frozen analysis almost, where the captain is just not doing anything. He's just sticking to the plan rigidly. And that's something that we had used as a critique against previous captains. We were supposed to have a captain who was doing something a bit different this time.
Well, I think it would have made a lot of difference. But the other thing that has bothered me the most, Daniel, and I'm sure you would have, visual optics are very important in this world. You had two experienced players in the likes of Babar Azam and Mohammad Rizwan, who were right there. Mm-hmm. And you had your vice captain as well, Saud Shakil. But there was no communication with Shan Masood. He looked absolutely disoriented.
Absolutely. He looked disoriented, he looked stuck and frozen, and I think that's when we start getting into the intangibles of the team dynamics and what sort of relationships they have with each other. I think ultimately it's all coming down to the same answer, which is you need to have someone in the team who's captain, who the rest of the players can respect and believe in. I'm not sure that that's Shan right now.
Absolutely. Jawar Faisal, the romance between Pakistani cricket and their captains is not a good affair. It's ended very horribly in the past as well. Just recently we've had so many changes. I don't want to talk about, it once again at the start of the new year, but it is something that is looking pretty adamant, and it might come to a point where we once again move to one captain for all formats. It looks very, very pertinent at the moment.
Ahmed, despite of this fact that Rohit Sharma did good decision, but they are still Indian media criticizing him. But Pakistan situation is entirely different. The question arises that the management, coach and other did not send 12 men to give any message to the captain to guide him.
I don't think so.
maybe there should be a message or something else to set the field or to change the
I think the captain didn't want a message. That there it could be that case that he didn't want that message.
There may be, but in our system it's happened most of the time. But this is unfortunate.
Because he was very comfortable with Jason Gillespie, but look that how ended. Jason went.
Let's see. We will have to see how the batter is playing, how he was playing independently. We should, just as my friend added that, we should change the tactics. Mm-hmm. That was not happened, and nobody was telling him. Even Babar Azam, Rizwan, and other seniors were there. But the thing is there, your body language must be perfect on the field, mm-hmm. and you should be united. Only aim of this whole thing to win the match. We put millions of dollars on a match and prepare a team and give a lot of money to the players and facilities. But at the end, what is the result? Only aim to win the match, either the test match or ODI or T20. But again, I will say the Pakistan team is lacking in the responsibilities. Especially our batters should realize the responsibilities and to play for the Pakistan with keep themselves united and energetic.
Well, I guess everything goes a mess once you're losing, but once you're winning, it tends to be back on. And somebody very pertinently mentioned, I was talking to a test cricketer who said that if Pakistan wins, you're going to be in awe of Shan Masood. And I gave him my word, no, I will not be. Let me be very honest. But then again, like I said, it leaves a very bad taste at the moment. And with, this series coming to a conclusion after the second test match, Pakistan's 2 test matches are against the West Indies and both of them at Multan. But how are you seeing this campaign for Shan Masood so far? Hassan, it's not just the captaincy, it is his own performance that is being criticized at the moment as well.
Ahmed talked about out of the box tactics. For a second, let's step out of Centurion and have a look in Melbourne. In Melbourne on day 4, I saw Pat Cummins, when Scott Boland was bowling around 130 kilometers an hour, bring the wicketkeeper up to the stumps. This is something I would never imagine Shan Masood or any Pakistani captain to have ever done. Daniel mentioned how the catches were not going over the keeper's head, rather falling on short on the ground. Well, this is what Pat Cummins can do. And we also talked about how Pakistan has been throwing away matches, as Masood said, from the scruff of the neck. Well, guess what's a team that has been winning matches from the jaws of defeat? Australia won a really close game just this last week against India at the MCG. They're able to do this because they have a consistent captain, a creative captain. Pat Cummins has been the captain of Australia since 2022 for 3 years straight. He's had the same coach, Andrew McDonald, for 3 years straight. Now compare that to Pakistan. For Pakistan, having a captain for longer than a year or having a coach for more than a week seems something unthinkable. But Australia, they have that consistency. They have the ability to think out of the box, and that is something that Pakistan lacks. If you look at the West Indies series, I really struggle to think of enough excuses to keep Shan Masood. You know, the only matches he's been able to win were against England, and in those matches, I don't think the captain deserves that much credit as the players, as Sajid Khan, Numan Ali do. Even if Pakistan, by some miracle, had managed to win in Centurion, the credit, I would have given it to Mohammad Abbas. I would have given it to Khurram Shahzad. I don't think Shan Masood would have been really as much worthy of that credit. And the question then begs itself, Ahmed, who is the adequate replacement? You mentioned an all-format captain, Rizwan. I think that's the general trend in international cricket right now. 2-3 years ago, we had a trend towards specialized captains for white ball, red ball, but that trend has completely gone away, and most teams now, they have the same captain for all three formats. I do see Rizwan being in that role. I think the West Indies series would be the ideal opportunity to try him in that role. Because see what happened when you made him the ODI captain. You beat Australia in a series. You beat Zimbabwe in a series. You whitewashed South Africa in an ODI series in their own den, which is no mean feat as far as I'm concerned. You look at Rizwan's record.
And I think all of us can collectively comment on what Rizwan said. I think that needs to be the new catchphrase of Pakistan cricket, that it's no longer baseball, it's sake ball now. So I think that really worked for Pakistan in that scenario. But those two wins in the test matches against England, I think the Heaters have a lot of credit to that, more than Shan Masood. But you'd like to add something on a final note, Danya?
Yeah, I agree with a lot of what Hassan has just said, actually. And so there's a couple of points which I wanted to put out. One is that you pick your captain by picking your best 11, and then making sure that the guy who is best suited to leading that best 11 is the person you appoint as captain. Two is that we are now in a situation where we're running the risk of going back to the 90s, where almost everyone in your side has been captain at some point and thinks they're still captain, and therefore you end up in a battle of egos non-stop and a rotating merry-go-round of captaincy. And the third is, I'm not entirely sure that I agree that we should have an all-format captain. I think that Rizwan is probably best suited to being captain in one-day internationals and test matches. I think in T20 you need someone else. And partly so that you can train someone up to take over that limited over captaincy when Rizwan moves on. But also partly because I don't think that Rizwan's own place in the T20 setup right now is as stable as we'd like it to be. I think the era when you had Babar and Rizwan opening the batting and that won you matches in and of itself, that is now past. I think you need to have a different opening setup there, and we can talk about that another time. But I think you do need to distinguish between one-day internationals and test matches and T20s on their own.
I think, going forward, it's going to make a lot of difference for Pakistan, because the stability we have right now is something we're not used to in Pakistan cricket. And if things tend to go the same way for the next 3 years, because we've got an elected chairman at the moment, so things are pretty stable on PCB. But then maybe one skipper, whoever it is, either it's Shan Masood or if they give the reins to someone else, can probably lead that as well. But thank you very much, Daniel. Thank you very much, Jabbar Faisal. And thank you very much, Hassan, for joining us. That wraps up Sports Extra. From me and the entire team, it's goodbye for now.